Hello everyone, this is Weather coming at you with another update. In this update, we're going to be talking about a major winter storm with a damaging ice storm, snow, and record cold. So before I do get started, if you do like weather-related content, please subscribe to my channel as I will upload daily updates to keep you ahead of the storm. And I do ask you to share this video with your friends and family on social media. All right, so let's get started. Here is your latest watches and warnings map. I mean, Texas has just been under the gun lately, and they're hit with another snowstorm. Those winter storm warnings extend all the way into Houston now, and they will go into Louisiana, the entire state of Arkansas, getting into portions of Oklahoma. That will extend into Mississippi and Tennessee, getting into Kentucky and West Virginia, parts of North Carolina and Virginia, and then fresh winter weather advisories for the Northeast as this same system continues to lift off. And as well as, Missouri, we've got winter weather advisories as well. So let's get into overnight record lows. I mean, this just continues to be an impressive Arctic blast, sending daily record lows day after day after day. This is February the 17th, and you can see these daily record lows extend all the way into Texas, Oklahoma, Arkansas. It's been concentrated over the central U.S. That's where that Arctic intrusion has been taking grip, into Wisconsin and Illinois, and then it's progressing a little bit further east now because we talked about it's pushing east and pushes south and then it goes east. So now we're looking at record lows into Louisiana, Mississippi, even Alabama is getting into some record low territory now. So that storm will take shape. I mean, right now, we're just having a damaging ice storm taking shape in Austin right now. And unfortunately, that will just continue to intensify. And the Dallas-Fort Worth seeing snow, that'll push off to the east later on the day, getting into East Texas, especially into like Texarkana, getting into Little Rock, Arkansas, going and finishing into portions of Oklahoma, as well as Missouri, and then Illinois. And then we'll also have that damaging ice storm, which is going to be damaging to almost crippling and portions of the South. Even extending in places, even in portions of Houston and Shreveport, Alexandria, Louisiana. They're going to be hit hard from this ice event as this continues moving across to the east, and it just amplifies even further. So this whole area is just going to be under the gun with a severe ice storm. Now it's heading into Mississippi as it continues moving up the coast into Alabama, and then snow on the north side. So places like Nashville, places like Memphis is going to get more snow from this setup on this second storm. This continues lifting off into portions of Kentucky, and as this lifts off to the northeast, that Arctic air is still in place on the backside. So by the time we get into Thursday morning, now we're looking at that colder air sinking a little bit further south now, tap into some extra energy from the Gulf. And yeah, look at this. More snow for all the way down in places like Mexico. Big Bend, places like Del Rio is going to see snow. Places like San Antonio is going to see another couple inches of snow. And then unfortunately, that ice will just continue to shift further south, getting into northern portions of Houston now. And that will just be, aggravating the ongoing issues, especially with all the power outages they have in Texas. And there's other power outages across the nation too. So, because this severe cold has just been really taking a toll on the energy source, because a lot of people are just trying to stay warm from this just record cold. And as this system continues to lift it off into the northeast, now we're going to be inundated with that ice threat a little bit further north. And now we're getting into places like Roanoke, Virginia, and Virginia, portions of West Virginia, unfortunately. And that could also be a damaging ice storm as well, with getting up to a half inch, if not more, in some spots. So that would be down power lines, tree damage. And then on the north side, places like DC, I do think you're going to get hit pretty hard with this event, like 5 to 7 inches of snow. And as this continues lifting off into southern PA, getting into Baltimore, up along the coast now in Jersey by the time Thursday afternoon comes around, and as this will continue to extend into Friday morning, overnight into Friday morning, this will only increase the snow showers up into New England now, and that's why they implemented the winter weather advisories along, say, the I-95 corridor. So some of the bigger cities like Philly, another 5 to 7 inches from the snowstorm. New York City, another six inches from the snowstorm. Get into Boston, maybe a little bit lower amounts, 4 or 5 inches. As we head up, further inland, a little bit lighter amounts of say 3 to 4 inches, and we'll go over some of the snowfall totals. But this will continue lifting off into the northeast, and by Friday morning, it'll start to be all snow. So eventually, that Arctic air will kind of win out. I mean, we've been fighting this southeast ridge over time, but eventually, the Arctic air does continue to press east, and as it continues to press east, it'll fight that southeast ridge and somewhat win, because it'll keep that low pressure off the coast, dumping some of those heavier snows inland now. And now we're setting the stage for that pretty good snow event, 5 to 8 inches across the board into New England as we get into some of those snowfall totals. But yeah, I mean, so these lows, I mean, even by Friday, this is kind of be the almost the last gasp of the Arctic intrusion. And but Friday's still the 19th. That's still several days away. And as that storm continues lifting off to the northeast, then on the backside, we have that sinking air. We've got radiational cooling. We'll have a lot of clearing in the midsection of the country, and we'll bottom out again. So there's going to be numerous spots is going to hit below zero again in Iowa and Missouri and Illinois, and even creeping back down into Oklahoma. I think Oklahoma City gets down to even possibly the negative territory. I mean, they hit 14 below zero the other morning. That was some impressive cold. The only thing that beats it was minus 17. That was back in that historic snowstorm, Arctic blast in 1899. But even single digits again, unfortunately, back into portions of Dallas-Fort Worth, and widespread 20s and teens for much of Texas, as they just this cold will not let up, and even into Louisiana and Mississippi, teens, widespread teens. So we're still seeing that Arctic air even by Friday, hanging around and really deepening. So, but as this continues lifting off into the northeast, going to the afternoon on Friday, that will continue dumping some more snow into New England along the coast. This banding, some of the heavier amounts will be along the coast as this low will start to kind of hang off the coast. That will put the heavier snows further inland, but this time along the coastline as this continues moving off into the northeast. And by early Saturday morning, the 20th now, this second storm will we could finally say goodbye to it after we've been inundated with back-to-back storms for a good chunk of the country coming up for on Friday. So let's look at some of the snowfall totals from this event here in the northwest. They got hit pretty hard earlier on with this system. Now that some of the warmer air is starting to filter in, that'll push some of the snow showers or the heavier snows further inland. So sporadic 6 to 12 inches of snows, and portions of Washington and Oregon, get into Idaho. This will filter down into the Four Corners regions and kind of modify a little bit into Utah and portions of Colorado here. And then as we'll extend into New Mexico, it'll modify even further with several more inches of snow. And then this is additional snow in Texas, where they've already had some snow overnight, but this is additional snow coming in on the backside on Thursday with 1 to 2 inches. And far west Texas, like I mentioned, Del Rio, about another 1 to 3 inches. San Antonio could be picking up a couple more inches from this system, maybe a dusting in Austin, but it's only going to be an ice threat for you guys. and then maybe you know, 1 to 2 inches, and probably north of Houston, you know, places like Conroe and Huntsville. But it'll ring itself out in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. That snow will push east with several more inches of snow to come from this system. That'll get into Texarkana with probably another 5 inches, you know, 6 to 8 inches coming, more snow into Little Rock, several more inches into Oklahoma City and Oklahoma with another, you know, 1 to 3 inches widespread. A little bit lighter amounts further north as you get into, say, Mountain Home, Arkansas here, with possibly 1 to 3 inches in that area. Southern Missouri, 1 to 3 inches. That's as this continues lifting across. Yeah, I mean, these are pretty good snows for Mississippi and portions of Alabama here, with, you know, 2 to 5 inches of snow. Nashville will pick up several more inches. Memphis, Tennessee, several more inches as this continues lifting across. But unfortunately, the ice threat is going to be a severe threat from this storm, mainly in central Texas. It's already ongoing, but they're looking at possibly adding another 1/4 inch of ice on top of what they already have in Austin. That's going to be crippling. They already read they had 0.3, so this puts them at 0.5, if not a little bit higher. And those ice threat will extend all the way down into Corpus. I mean, San Antonio and far west Texas, even portions of Houston's going to be hit with ice. I mean, this is like crippling ice here in south central Texas, getting into East Texas with upwards of a 1/2 inch, and especially as we go into Shreveport. I mean, Alexander, Louisiana. I mean, all this area is going to be hit hard. Lake Charles, Louisiana, possibly up to a 1/2 inch of ice as this continues lifting off into you know, Mississippi. By then, Jackson, Mississippi could be picking up another 1/4 inch, you know, to a 1/2 inch of ice. So this is crippling ice as this puts, you know, down power lines and you know, trees weighted down as well. So anything over a 1/2 inch to a 3/4 of an inch would be considered crippling. Anything a 1/2 inch is damaging. So this is a severe threat as this continues lifting off into the northeast. Here's your snow showers as this continues lifting off. There's your snow in Tennessee. Now we're getting to at least a little filtering into western parts of Tennessee towards the end, and then, you know, portions of Kentucky, 1 to 3 inches, but a little bit higher amounts as we get into Virginia, portions of Virginia, getting into Washington D.C. Like I mentioned, maybe 7 inches. Baltimore could be picking up another you know, 7 to 8 inches. And then kind of drying out for you guys in Illinois and Indiana and portions of Ohio. And as this continues lifting off, like I mentioned, the ice threat will just continue to be a huge problem from this event. That ice threat will be on the south side where they have that warm air intrusion. That'll extend into portions. So on top of the snow, you'll get the ice in Tennessee, portions of far western Kentucky, but especially as you get into you know, Greensboro, North Carolina, you know, north of the city, and Roanoke, Virginia. These areas are going to be hit hard with an ice storm, anywhere from a 1/2 inch almost up to 3/4 of an inch. That will be damaging to crippling. And as we continue lifting off into for the snow, yeah, it'll just be sporadic dustings in Iowa, you know, portions of you know, Wisconsin, getting into Michigan, where they already had several inches of snow from the first event. But this will lift off into the northeast. So now we're getting to the northeast, maybe a couple more inches in, say, Pittsburgh, but then that's where they implemented the winter weather advisories along this banding here. So along this banding, we'll have another 5 to 7 inches in Philly, a good 6 to inches in New York, and, you know, possibly up to 5 in Boston. And these up here by you know, Scranton and into Albany, you know, 1 to 3 inches, up to 2 to 4 inches as you get further inland. Some of your heavier amounts are going to be along this corridor here in the pink, anywhere from 5 to 8 inches. And this banding, if we lift further to the north, we'll have your ice as threat as well. So here's your ice storm that we already kind of talked about. This will extend into Dover and portions of southern Jersey. And then here's your snow further north into New York with 1 to 3 inches, and Vermont and New Hampshire with possibly another, 1 to 3 inches from this event, and get it into portions of Canada as well. So, but then even by Sunday, I mean, I told you this air pushes south and then it pushes east, and it will kind of elongate and spread out. But we do see a pattern change by the time next week rolls around, but that's a long ways out. We do see a little bit colder anomalies finally pushing to the southeast and portions of the east as warmer air tries to kind of take over from the north. But we are looking at possibly another snowstorm kind of coming in from a clipper system. This would be early next week by then, possibly affecting the Great Lakes and getting into the Northeast by the early portions of next week. So I'll be kind of talking about that. So I just wanted to kind of give you a little preview on that particular setup. But hey, I appreciate you guys watching. Do like this video. Definitely leave your comments below. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel to catch the latest update where I protect you before and after the storm.